MrBeast became a millionaire by giving his money away. Not after he got rich before. That sentence alone sounds wrong, almost offensive to common sense, because everything we're taught about money says the opposite. Save it, protect it, hold on to it, spend less, flex later. But instead you see the footage, cash falling from the sky, strangers frozen in disbelief, rooms built just to be destroyed, numbers getting bigger, faster, louder, and the question hits you hard. Why would someone burn money on strangers and somehow end up richer? Is this genius, or is this insanity disguised as generosity? Most people see chaos, most people see waste, most people assume it's fake, reckless, or unsustainable. But what if it wasn't? What if the money wasn't being lost? What if it was being converted into attention, into emotion, into retention, into something far more valuable than cash sitting in a bank account? Here's the part almost everyone misses. The giving away money was never the point. It wasn't generosity first. It was strategy first. Every dollar had a role. Every giveaway had a purpose. Every shocked reaction was a carefully placed piece in a much larger system. This wasn't charity gone wild. It was a feedback loop. Spend money, create shock. Shock, create shares. Shares create views. Views create more money. And then do it again, but bigger. In the next 20 minutes, you're going to see how that loop was built, how it scaled, and how turning money into spectacle became one of the most powerful growth engines the internet has ever seen. Because the real story isn't about giving money away. It's about why giving it away was the smartest investment he ever made. For most people, money follows a predictable script. You earn it, you save it, you invest it carefully. And if you're disciplined enough, years later it grows. That's the normal rule of money. Safe, logical, slow. The same rule applies on YouTube. Creators start earning, then they upgrade their lifestyle. Better apartment, better car, better comfort. And quietly, almost invisibly, the momentum dies because the money leaves the content. But MrBeast broke that rule completely. While others used money as a reward, he treated money as raw material. Most people use money to prove they've made it. He used money to build the proof. That's the contradiction most viewers never notice. When a creator finally gets paid, the instinct is relief. I made it. When MrBeast got paid, the instinct was pressure. How do I turn this into something bigger? To the average person, spending money looks like risk. To him, not spending it was the real risk. Because on YouTube, attention doesn't compound quietly in the background like interest in a bank account. Attention either grows or it dies. And this is the pivot most creators never make. MrBeast didn't try to get rich from YouTube. He tried to get attention and then convert attention into money. That sounds subtle, but it changes everything. If money is the goal, you protect it. If attention is the goal, you deploy it. That's why while others were upgrading their lives, he was upgrading the experience. Bigger ideas, clearer stakes, stronger emotions, moments people couldn't ignore or forget. He wasn't asking, how do I keep this money? He was asking, how do I turn this money into the next level of belief? Belief from the audience. Belief that something insane might happen. Belief that the next video would be bigger than the last. And once belief is locked in, views follow. Shares follow, revenue follows. The irony is brutal. By refusing to treat money like success, he turned money into growth. And by chasing attention instead of wealth, wealth chased him back at scale. That's the rule everyone else follows, and the rule he flipped. In the beginning, there was nothing glamorous about it. The channel was small, the views were inconsistent, the money barely enough to matter. MrBeast spent years uploading videos that almost no one watched, obsessively experimenting in silence. Different formats, different ideas, different styles. Most of them failed. Some worked briefly. None of them changed everything. Until one quiet question rewired the entire future of the channel. What if I spend the money on the video itself? It sounds simple, almost obvious. But for creators, that instinct is rare. When the first real money comes in, most people breathe out. They reward themselves. They finally take something back. But he did the opposite. He leaned forward. Instead of treating money as a prize, he treated it as fuel. And that's when something unexpected happened. Giving money away on camera triggered a shortcut, a cheat code for human emotion. Surprise, real unfiltered shock, gratitude you can't fake, and reactions so raw they feel contagious. When a stranger suddenly receives money, the moment is honest. No acting, no script, no second take. And honesty is magnetic. People don't just watch, they lean in, they wait, they share. Because the thought appears instantly, you won't believe what happens next. That's when he realized something critical. The fastest way to make a stranger's reaction real was to make the stakes real. Money wasn't the point. Emotion was. Each giveaway created a moment that couldn't be replicated cheaply. You couldn't fake it with editing. You couldn't manufacture it with hype. The reaction either happened or it didn't. And then came the twist almost everyone misunderstands. He wasn't trying to look generous, he was trying to make the video unskippable. That's the difference. Generosity is a side effect. Retention was the objective. When viewers feel something shock, joy, disbelief, they don't click away. They stay. They comment. They send it to someone else. And for the first time, the loop appeared. Money into the video. Emotion out of the video. Attention multiplied. Revenue returned larger than before. That first reinvestment wasn't about giving money away. It was the moment content stopped being a hobby and became a machine. There's a reason people don't just watch these videos. They wait. Not because of money, but because of what the money does to the human brain. MrBeast discovered something most creators never consciously design. Attention isn't held by spectacle alone, it's held by emotion in sequence. The first emotion is anticipation. The video begins and the question forms instantly. Who gets it? How much is it going to be? When is it coming? The viewer leans forward without realizing it. They're no longer watching passively, they're predicting. The brain starts running scenarios, and once anticipation is triggered, clicking away feels unfinished. Then comes escalation. The amount increases. The challenge gets harder. The rules change. The stakes rise. And suddenly the viewer thinks, wait, it's still going. It's bigger than I expected. Escalation resets attention. Just when the brain thinks it understands the pattern breaks and curiosity spikes again. Then comes the payoff, the moment of giving. Tears, shock, hands over mouths, silence before disbelief. This is where the emotional release happens. The brain gets rewarded for staying. Dopamine fires not because of money, but because of resolution. And here's the critical layer beneath all of it, viewer self-insertion. At some point, every viewer asks the same quiet question, what would I do if that was me? That question turns spectators into participants. They imagine themselves standing there, receiving the money, making the decision, feeling the weight of the moment. That's why the money works. Because money in his videos isn't a flex. It's a plot device. Every dollar has a narrative purpose. It sets tension. It raises stakes. It delivers payoff. Nothing is random. And here's the twist most people miss. Every dollar wasn't just spent, it was scripted. Not in dialogue, not in outcomes, but in emotional timing, where anticipation begins, where escalation hits, where the payoff lands. That's why viewers don't look away. They're not watching someone give away money. They're watching a story their brain refuses to leave unfinished. At some point, the chaos starts to look organized. What seemed like random generosity begins to reveal a pattern, a loop so simple it feels obvious after you see it. This is the machine. Bigger idea, bigger spend, bigger emotion, more shares, more views, more revenue, bigger idea. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. For MrBeast, every step fed the next perfectly. It always starts with a bigger idea. Not louder, not longer. Clearer, more extreme. Something that can be explained in one sentence and instantly understood. Then comes the bigger spend. The money isn't there to impress, it's there to create believability. When the stakes are real, the challenge feels real. When the risk is visible, the moment feels authentic. Viewers don't question it, they accept it. And that unlocks the next step, bigger emotion. Shock that freezes people in place. Joy that spills out uncontrollably. Silence that says more than words ever could. These emotions don't just get watched, they get rewatched, they get clipped, they get commented on. Did you see his reaction? I wasn't ready for that moment. Emotion creates memory, and memory drives behavior. Then comes the invisible engine shares. No ads, no promotion. Just people sending the video to someone else with one sentence. You have to see this. That's free distribution at internet scale. Shares bring views. Views bring revenue. And here's where the loop snaps shut. That revenue doesn't go into comfort. It doesn't go into lifestyle. It goes straight back into the next bigger idea. He didn't reinvest to be nice. He reinvested to be impossible to ignore. This is why he could lose money on a video and still profit overall. Because the profit wasn't isolated to one upload. It lived across the system. One video might burn cash, but it raised the baseline for everything that followed. Each loop made the next loop stronger. Each cycle raised expectations. Each reinvestment widened the gap between him and everyone else. Once the machine was running, stopping wasn't an option. Because momentum once built demands to be fed, and he fed it again and again until the machine became unstoppable. At first glance, it does look like madness. People watch these videos and say the same things over and over again. It's fake. It's wasteful. He's just buying views. And honestly, those reactions make sense. Because from the outside, it looks like money being set on fire. Huge amounts spent in minutes. Sets built just to be torn down. Prizes handed out and never recovered. To a traditional mindset, it feels reckless, irresponsible, unsustainable. But here's the mistake. People assume the money is the product. It's not. For MrBeast, the money is simply the budget, the same way a film uses special effects. No one says a movie is buying viewers because it has explosions. They understand the explosions exist to make the story hit harder. The same rule applies here. This isn't buying views. It's buying a better product. The giveaway is the special effect, but the real engine is storytelling and pacing. That's why copying the surface never works. Anyone can hand out money once, but only a few can turn it into a narrative people actually finish. The structure is what carries the video. Clear rules, rising stakes, unexpected turns, a payoff that feels earned. Without that, the money is meaningless. And here's the part most critics completely miss. The real secret isn't the cash, it's the escalation. Each video pushes the boundary just a little further. Bigger challenge, harder rules, higher risk. The audience doesn't come back because there's money. They come back because they want to see how far it will go this time. At 12:30, the realization clicks. The money wasn't the main attraction. The progression was. That's why the format doesn't collapse. That's why it scales instead of burning out. And that's why what looks like chaos is actually one of the most controlled content systems on the internet. Madness from the outside, precision from the inside. And that difference is everything. There's a moment when reinvestment stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like a trap. Because every time a video gets bigger, it quietly resets the baseline. What once felt insane becomes normal. What once shocked becomes expected. And suddenly the thought appears. The next one has to be bigger, or it feels boring. This is the escalation ladder. For MrBeast, every reinvested video didn't just outperform the last, it redefined what normal looked like for his audience. A $10,000 giveaway becomes a memory. A $100,000 giveaway becomes the new standard. A $1 million challenge becomes the expectation. And once expectations rise, there's no rewind button. This is what creates the expectation trap. The audience now arrives with assumptions. The stakes will be higher. The challenge will be harder. the payoff will be bigger. If any one of those slips, the video feels smaller, even if it's objectively massive. That pressure forces innovation. You can't repeat the same trick forever. You can't rely on money alone. You have to redesign the experience again and again. And here's the dangerous part. Reinvestment doesn't just grow your budget, it grows your audience's expectations. That's why reinvestment becomes addictive. Each successful video whispers the same lie, just one more step up. But escalation is unforgiving. At around this point right here is where most creators collapse. They chase bigger without building support underneath it. No systems, no team structure, no repeatable process, just pressure. And pressure without structure breaks things. But this is also where the difference becomes clear. Bigger isn't sustainable by willpower. It's only sustainable by systems. Systems that plan. Systems that execute. Systems that turn chaos into repeatability. Without them, escalation kills momentum. With them, escalation becomes leverage. That's the fork in the road. Most creators step onto the ladder and fall. But when reinvestment is paired with structure, the ladder doesn't collapse. It becomes a staircase, and once you're climbing that staircase, standing still is no longer an option. From the outside, it looks simple. Money goes out, reactions come in, views explode. But that's only what you see. What you don't see is the system underneath, quiet, methodical, and relentless. For MrBeast, reinvestment was never random. It wasn't impulse, it was infrastructure. Because money alone doesn't scale chaos. Systems do. Every dollar reinvested strengthens something invisible. Better sets, not just bigger, but designed for clarity and pacing. Spaces built to guide the story, not distract from it. Better editing where every cut sharpens tension. No wasted seconds, no dead air, only forward motion. Better planning challenges mapped down to the minute. What happens if this fails? What if it succeeds too fast? What if someone quits? Better iteration ideas tested, refined, and relaunched faster than competitors could react. Feedback wasn't discussed, it was absorbed and applied. And bigger logistics, the unglamorous backbone. Permits, safety, transport, crew coordination. The difference between a viral idea that collapses and one that actually gets filmed. This is the layer almost no one talks about. Because it's not exciting, it doesn't trend, and it doesn't show up in thumbnails, but it's everything. The giveaway is what you see, the reinvestment is what you don't. That's why copying the format fails. People try to replicate the money without replicating the machine. They see the spectacle and miss the factory. At around 1710, the realization should land. When people ask, how did he become a millionaire? The real answer isn't YouTube, it isn't giveaways, it isn't luck. He built a factory for virality, a system that turns ideas into execution, execution into emotion, emotion into shares, shares into revenue, and then feeds that revenue back into the factory stronger each time. Once that system is running, growth stops being accidental, it becomes inevitable, and the money, that's just the byproduct of a machine doing exactly what it was designed to do. At this point, it's tempting to think the lesson only applies to someone with millions to spend. It doesn't, because the core idea was never about money. For MrBeast, money was just the most visible form of reinvestment. But long before there were big budgets, there was something far more important being spent. Time, attention, obsession. And that's the part anyone can copy. If you don't have money, you reinvest hours. Hours into research. Hours into learning thumbnails that stop the scroll. Hours into editing that removes every dull second. Hours into scripting that builds tension and payoff. That is reinvestment. Instead of asking, what can I take from this video, the question becomes, what can I put back into the next one? And giving away value doesn't mean giving away cash. It means giving away what actually helps people. Clear explanations, useful templates, actionable tools, access to insight most people never share. That's how trust is built. The audience feels it immediately. This creator is trying to help me, not extract from me. And trust compounds faster than money ever could. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. You don't need his money. You need his mindset. Treat every dollar or every hour as fuel for the next upload. Because growth doesn't come from comfort, it comes from commitment. At around 1840, this realization should hit. The real giveaway was never cash. It was commitment. Commitment to improvement even when no one was watching. Commitment to reinvest even when it would have been easier to coast. Commitment to raise the standard every single time. Most creators quit not because they lack talent, but because they stop feeding momentum. They cash out too early. They slow down too soon. But when you treat your time, your skills, and your effort as investments, not expenses, the game changes. And suddenly the question isn't, how do I get paid? It becomes, how do I build something so valuable that payment becomes inevitable? That's the lesson. And it's available to anyone willing to commit. And when you strip everything away, the cash, the scale, the spectacle, one truth remains. Most people spend money to look successful. MrBeast spent money to become successful. That single difference explains everything you've just seen. He didn't chase comfort. He didn't protect appearances. He didn't cash out the moment it worked. He reinvested when it was uncomfortable, when it was risky, when the outcome wasn't guaranteed. And that's the part most people avoid, because reinvestment forces a decision: stay safe or bet on growth, hold on or push forward. Now here's the question that matters, not for him but for you. If you had $10,000 today, what would you do with it? Would you save it, spend it, protect it? Or would you risk it all on one idea, one video, one project, one chance to change your trajectory? There's no right answer, but the question reveals how you think. Because success rarely comes from the amount you have. It comes from what you're willing to do with it. And money is just one form of capital. You also spend time, energy, focus, belief. Every day you're already investing something. The only question is whether that investment is building momentum or slowly draining it. If this breakdown made you see creators' money or success differently, take a second and tell me in the comments. What would you reinvest first? And if you want more deep dives into creator psychology, growth systems, and the strategies that actually move the needle, you know what to do. Because the next idea, the next risk, the next reinvestment might be the one that changes everything. And sometimes all it takes is the courage to spend differently.